Good morning, what are we doing?
Good morning. We are making window frames. Hayden is over there already rocking the form for the arch above the door. So Ada and I are putting together frames, get the windows in, maybe even get a door in today. Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
The possibilities are endless.
Also, today is your birthday, and you want to work on a dome. Way to go.
Alright, now we have to see if I actually measured right. I think I did this time. Last time I didn't, and I learned my lesson. So it's going to be really cool, and it's so cute. Adelaide really likes having the knots exposed, which is also my favorite thing too, because woodworking with my dad, he would always choose the most perfect smooth board, and I always like the ones with like the bark exposed or something weird. So it's kind of neat that Adelaide also likes weird stuff like I do.
It's a very special day. We're going to start doing the render. So render is external, like traditionally render is external and plaster is internal, but people use the terms kind of interchangeably. A really common question is, how do you get the render to stick onto these shiny plastic bags? And it actually sticks really, really well because the bags are actually a woven mesh, so they've got an interwoven 90-degree kind of matrix that the cement-based render that we're using today, but it's the same with clay-based cob render or a lime-based render as well. All those three stick really well to the bags. So the first thing that we do is fill in the deepest valleys and the largest areas that need to get filled in. So we're making a mix at the moment. It's 4 parts washed concrete sand to 1 part cement, and we're going just in the deepest areas of these valleys in between the bags. So I'm just going to start rendering, and a good thing to do is just clean it off first. So if there's any loose material in between here, especially any clay-based material, you can just get it right off. So I get a nice handful like this. For initial pack out, I always use my hands as my trowel because you've always got them wherever you go. Aiming for the deepest valley of the Superadobe. I get it, I come in, I swing into it, and don't throw it with a lot of force, but I do throw it with a little bit of force so it shoots right in there, and then I'll sweep upwards with the bottom of my hand as kind of the edge of my trowel. So it goes like this. And you want to touch it as little as possible. It's a massive temptation to overtouch and get it looking perfect. This is scratch coat, and it's called scratch coat for a reason, because it needs to be really rough so the next layer can grab onto it. And the more you touch it, with that throw, we've made a little vacuum, a really great natural well achieved vacuum between the mix and the bag, and the more you touch it, you'll push it in when you touch it, and then it'll fall away and it'll lose that natural vacuum. So you don't want to touch it a lot. Give yourself a 2-touch limit, and 1 is throwing it on, and you get 1 time to touch it again to maybe just fix it up a little bit if you need to, but try and do it in 1. It's also a lot faster. Something that happens quite commonly is you'll put it on, and because it's an upwards motion, it's always an upwards motion. You flick it on and you push upwards, because as soon as you push down, you're aiding gravity to pull the plaster off the wall. So you put it on and you push upwards like this, but sometimes your material will pull away on this bottom edge. So again, you have 2 touches, so I would only ever encourage your second touch to help with this bottom edge of plaster, which is just the body of your palm, and you just do a very light push downwards if you can physically see it pulling away. Okay, here's an ugly reality of Superadobe building that's good to share. When I was first building the forms, we built it and it was quite large, and I had in my mind the size of the dome. It was a 9-foot dome, so it's a nice small dome. So I decided to make the window forms as small as possible, and these are the frames that are coming in. And sometimes, quite regularly in Superadobe, you'll undersize your forms for the size of your frames, and we had the windows purchased already, and the window goes in the frame. So I took off what I thought was going to fit perfectly, but with Superadobe, the bags always push in, and then you're always left with these folds as well of kind of heaped plastic. So you have to cut the bag with a box cutter or a small knife and then dig everything out, and it gets all ratty and it gets all yuck and it's just part of it. So this will all get plastered in, and we'll slowly build that edge back out again to get our edge. But this is very common, and I can almost guarantee at least once on your build, you're gonna need to trim some bags to be able to get something in there.
We just got the window frames in. Hayden had to do some magic here. It's time to put the flashing on, and we're going to install our very first window. Welcome to my YouTube tutorial. What are we doing first? No.
It is special. Washed cement sand.
Yeah.
No, it's not special.
It's special.
No.
Yes.
sure to stay out of the splash zone of the mixer because we're making it very wet. Boom, 11 o'clock. Tiny shiny dirts.
Or it could be tarantulas. Super dope.
Yeah.
That's what it is. What is it called? Caulk. Ada, you can put this in the garage with the other one.
What you doing here?
I am putting in some timber, melamine and plywood to begin the Ferrocement arch top over the doorway.
I can't wait to see how this works. I've been trying to visualize it for like 3 weeks.
Yep, me
So,
too.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Yep, today's the day we start. Ferrocement is good to do in a few layers. So I've put mesh over the top, screwed that into the buttresses, and we'll do first layer today, get second and third layer in tomorrow and the next day. Yeah! So here we have the beginnings of our Ferrocement arch, and this is definitely what I'd say is a bit of an advanced technique. And normally with Superadobe domes, the archways above doorways and windows are just made with the bags. But the one drawback of them is the thickness of the bag. So if we were to build this up in bags, the bags would have to come up to about here, and it would inhibit all the way up to here. So we'd only have 1, 2, 3 bags left to be able to cap the dome and get that visual aesthetic of the completed arch. So on this one, we're just going to be laying an arch about that thick over here. And I've built a temporary form that I can take out from underneath the arch out of bent masonite. So yeah, it's worked absolutely fantastically. The mesh has helped keep the kind of runny render mix within, so it helps contain it, and then also have this front edge of plywood which will give us a really clean finished edge. So this is still scratch coat. We're going to build up a couple layers, and then on the final render it'll be rendered all with the final render on the dome as well, so it'll all look like one big piece.
How's it going?
Good.
Do you like this new technique?
I do. I like, I never really thought about the idea of the vacuum, but that makes a lot of sense. Since we didn't tamp the sides of these bags, there's like a bigger cavity.
Like a ledge?
There's, especially as we get up here, there's definitely huge ledges, but even down here, there's definitely more for it to kind of latch onto and go in between. Seems like it's working pretty well for now.
Oh man, what a productive day of our first day of plaster. Stucco.
Or render, not stucco.
Chinking.
Render chink. Yeah, so this is kind of nice to see someone else's plaster mix and plaster application.
And techniques.
And
yes.
techniques. It's always good to learn new things. I really liked it. It was really fast. Did the whole thing in a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not the whole thing, but close to it. And also, we put in windows.
I know. You got the frames put in. You got the actual windows put in.
Yeah.
And Hayden started doing the we'll call it the vault that goes over the front door.
Yeah, we did a lot today, and it's all because Hayden is cracking the whip.
Agreed. He's motivated. He's only got about a week left here, a little less than a week. He wants to get as much as done before he can. So,
I appreciate
before
that.
Before he leaves.
Yeah, and we really appreciate that because that means we have help.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thanks, Hayden.
Thanks, Hayden.
All right, so that's it for today. Tomorrow is another day of plastering and getting more stuff done.
Maybe we'll get to the door.
I hope so. I'm excited to see this door go in, even though I am going to have to take it down to redo it and all that. It'd be nice to know that it fits and that it can go in.
Agreed.
All right, that's all for today. Thanks for hanging out with us.
We will see you very soon.
Now give me that hat. I wish it fit my head.
Oh, it looks good on you.
It doesn't fit my head.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What are we doing today?
Well, we've got the first layer on our Ferrocement arch on top of the buttresses for the door, and it's worked out really well, so it's just been drying overnight. And now I'm going to do second layer, and I made this funny little thing, which is a spacer that I'm going to run on here all the way like that, and I'm going to run this next layer up to the bottom of this piece of ply. So, and then I'm just going to run it out by eye. And yeah, get the second rough coat, which once that's on, it'll be ready for final. So we'll leave this to dry for a few days, and I'll pull it out probably just before I leave, I reckon.
So this will be the final pour for the arch, and then we'll just do final coat on top of it?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So it'll still be deliberately a little bit rough, so the next layer can grab onto it. And yeah, and the right size, right thickness with this spacer means that we'll have a 4-inch arch with double. This is a second layer of netting of wire mesh, and so it'll have 2 layers, and it's got some rebar going into the buttresses. So yeah, pretty confident it's going to be nice and strong. When you're doing ferrocement or kind of steel reinforcement of any type within cement, you don't just put the mesh against your previous layer and then put the cement on top of that, because it'll be hard up against the dry surface, and then the other stuff will just kind of be sitting on top of it. So you need to put quite a bit on, enough to be able to work with, and then I get something like a screw, or you can get a pair of pliers, and you actually pull it upwards, and then you push everything below it. And once there's enough material below it, the steel will want to float in the middle of the layer, and that's what you want to aim for. So you just need to keep doing that while you're going. So we're on to coat number 2 of external render. So it's the same mix of cement and sand. And now that we've aimed for the lowest valleys, we're going to come one step higher and we're going to keep on filling in the valleys. But now instead of looking at an individual valley between the rows, we have to look in a more global sense of the whole surface. So here by eye, I can tell that this is a really high bag and this is a really high bag, and you can double check that with a scrap piece of wood, and you just lay it on there and you can see that no other bags are touching these two bags. So it's really good to start getting an idea of where you need to aim, even though it's still going to take a couple layers for us to get to that point. I'm now going to start filling in the lower spots within this area between these two high spots to still slowly bring it out so that we end level with these two bags, because I really like all the bags to disappear and I like everything to be nice and smooth.
Plaster is going on really fast. Looks so good. This is the second scratch coat. So what we're going to do is go back down around the bottom on the other side, and we'll go up towards the top. Hopefully we have enough material to finish our scratch coat today.
Yeah!
Top of the world! Oh man, it's been a crazy couple days. This looks totally different.
Yeah, it's getting covered up very fast.
We've been plastering our hearts out. The problem is, this is a holiday weekend, and I don't know if we can get any more of our washed sand to finish making plaster.
It's okay, we can pivot and we can work on the door, we can work on glass bottles. There's several other things we can do. While we do want to get this dome done as quickly as possible, we also need to be working on our house, so we're going to be jumping back and forth for a little bit.
Ping-ponging, that's what we do.
Yep.
It's really dark.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to call it for the day.
Yep. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us.
We'll see you next time.